Welcome to the Surviving BPD Relationship Breakup Podcast. If someone in your life has BPD, you know how difficult it can be, and you need to learn how to heal from those toxic relationships. And that's where this show comes in. Expert education, expert knowledge, expert insight, and delivered with compassion and empathy. With your host, counselor and trauma recovery coach, AJ Mahari. To purchase and book sessions with AJ, go to ajmahari.ca. Now your host, AJ Mahari.
I recently heard my untreated ex BPD got pregnant with a guy I was discarded for. Super ouch. Sorry to hear that. I admit it hurts because during our 15-month relationship, she finally became pregnant, but only to witness her then purposefully neglect herself, stress out, not eat correctly, not make OBGYN appointments in order to lose the baby. And the comment says, it tore my heart out. I'm really sorry to hear this for you, and condolences on the loss of the baby. She barely showed any remorse. I couldn't believe she didn't waste any time moving on to the next guy and purposefully do all the things she did not want to do with me, but did them with him. Friends and family tell me it was probably best you didn't have a child with her. It was God's intention. You would have been in a worse place. God was looking after you. Yeah, they could be right. But a part of me still feels like I lost. Well, I hope you don't feel like you lost. I understand you did lose a baby, so why wouldn't you feel that you lost a baby? But I hope you don't feel like you lost overall because she's gone on to be with some other guy, and now she's pregnant. Well, history could repeat itself still, yet, unfortunately. It's one thing to think or maybe think about. And another reality to this is the fact that you kind of did dodge a bullet, but the fact that she was impregnated and that was going to be your child, that really means a whole lot of grief and I'm sure anger. But now, it's difficult, and I want to be really careful how I talk about this because it's a huge loss. And yet at the same time, within that huge loss, which you need to grieve, and you lost a child, and that's huge. And again, I'm so sorry. But for your life going forward, I hope, if nothing else, and in your grief, that you could make this the motivation for you to spring forward into your own healing recovery process if you're not already working with someone, or start working with someone, so that you can heal the codependency, heal from that relationship. You have grieving and healing to do from losing a child, and how you feel about the fact that she's gone on, to someone else quickly and seemingly wants to share everything purposely with him that she didn't want with you. That's hard to say if that's really what happened or why things happened the way they happened. But I think if you can use this as motivation to really heal so that you will be able to move forward gradually, and of course you'll be grieving that loss of the child that didn't come to be. You'll also be grieving and angry and going through a lot about the loss of what happened to the relationship, but you need to heal so you can go forward so that you never go through this again. And I've had so many clients over the last 33 years, men especially, that, having a child or children with a borderline woman, and especially untreated, it's just been a living nightmare for them. They love their children, but a lot of those children now have moderate to severe codependency, if not also some of them as young adults now, or however old people's children are at different times when they're working with me. Their kids are, or adult kids are, some of them are borderlines now too. And I want to recognize and be very gentle about your loss. And again, condolences for that, because that's huge. And how you're feeling about how she's gone on with this other guy. She's pregnant. Let's hope history doesn't repeat itself, though, because it very well could. Does she really want to just be pregnant, etc., versus have an actual child? It's possible. There's a real burden on men when they're with untreated borderline women who have their children. And I don't know what to say, because every client I've ever spoken to, every man I've ever spoken to that has a female BPDX and has children with them, of course they love their children, but a lot of times the problems go on and on for the children that men are having with borderlines untreated before they really know what's going on, or, situations like that. And people have tried for years to make marriages work. It's happening less and less with younger people, because maybe they're not getting married as often, or they're not getting married to have a child, which I'm not judging at all. But I think it's just really tragic that untreated borderline women can behave the way that this commenter's ex did. And you know what? I hate to say, may well be going to do again. Don't know. So this idea that it's tragic to lose a child, like, that's for sure. But what you would have gone through in trying to raise that child, you can't probably even imagine right now. And I think it's really important for anyone who's young, men with a borderline woman, or even women with a borderline man. Those are a little bit different for women, because they often have to share 50-50 custody with the borderline man too. And that just brings up a whole lot of the same issues that men are going through when their untreated borderline girlfriend or wife has a child or children too. So it's something people can't always avoid. In this case, it's really hard to say. I want to tread really lightly, but this commenter may not yet grasp, and understandably so, because of the loss of the child and all else that he's feeling about the relationship that his ex is in now. But I think even with that happening, it's really important for this commenter and anybody who can relate to this in any iteration of getting a female with BPD that you were dating, or thought you were feeling, you were in love with, or living with, or married to, for that matter, pregnant, and then for one reason or another, the child doesn't come to be, or may come to be and then maybe not fare well and not be anymore. Very big losses for sure. People have to really be careful. And I'm working with so many clients that are younger, and that matters to this tender subject area, because people that are younger are in the childbearing years, and people that are younger are wanting to work toward having a family. And many male clients of mine have said, they've been with, obviously they wouldn't be working with me probably if they hadn't been with a BPD, a woman with BPD. But when that's ended, or people are still working their way out of the process of the relationship and going no contact, strategizing and working on that with me, and then going forward in their healing as well, they come to, and it's different than this man who lost a child. I'm not trying to put the two together. So many of them realize, they're heartbroken, because they thought this was going to be the woman, it was going to be the mother of their children. And they want to have a family, a lot of younger men. But then they come to realize in the process, and it's different than having lost a child, that they really dodged a bullet, because they realize now that would have been really difficult and hard to, you can't really raise, it's very, very hard to raise healthy children with, never mind people's codependency, which can impinge on children sometimes, but with an untreated borderline mother. It's tragic what's happened to this commenter. But also, I just wanted to say to anyone right now, if you're a young man, or even a young, with somebody you're suspecting has BPD, or a young woman with somebody that you're suspecting, a man has BPD, you really have to think about getting yourself out of the relationship, getting into that healing recovery journey. And then often what clients say to me is, well, but like I'm 30 or 32, or sometimes a man might say I'm 35, 36, 40. As long as the woman isn't the 40-year-old, like, so to speak, there's time. And people really need to, unlike what happened and befell this commenter through no fault of his own, people really need to heed the message that having a child with an untreated borderline, whether you're a man with a woman or a woman with a man, is just really not a good idea. And often people have children before they know what's going on. But if you know what's going on, but you're still in the betrayal bond and you're still having trouble breaking away, you still really want to be with that ex and make it work, I would just say to young people who want to find someone to build a family with and that kind of thing, you have to stop. You have to stop in your tracks. You have to realize what you're headed for and what it's going to mean to children that you may have in the future or near future, and why it's best for you to work with someone to end the relationship if it's not over, to do the healing and moving forward. You can be healthier yourself, heal your codependency, you can become more independent, and you can find somebody who's going to be a healthier woman for you if you're a man, or a healthier man for you if you're a woman, so that you can hopefully have a functioning, relatively healthy family to be able to raise the healthiest children possible. Parents, care, concern, and also responsibility. I'm not the arbiter of this. I don't know. I never had children. It's pretty important to heed the reality of, hopefully I'll be doing some interviews with some more men or women, and if you're interested, if you're a man or a woman who has children with an ex who has BPD, and you'd like to be interviewed, it can be in audio only, you don't have to use your real name, then you can contact me by going to ajmahari.ca/contact, because maybe it would help some younger people to hear more about what happens when you have a child or children with an untreated borderline, whether that's a man or whether that's a woman. So, my heart goes out to this commenter, but you need to get into a process where, other than the loss of your child, which you need to grieve and process, and I'm so sorry about, you need to really get to work in a healing recovery journey. Hopefully you've already started. If not, please start soon. So that other than the grieving and remembering the child that you didn't get to have, and I'm very sorry, you need to let go of that person. And dare I say, the hope would be that she wouldn't do to the child growing inside of her now what she did with the commenter's child. But history could repeat itself. And this wouldn't be the only untreated borderline woman to, in many ways, for whatever reason, motivated purposefully or unconsciously, to not take care of herself and to lose a child. And whether they set out to lose the child on purpose or not varies from person to person with untreated BPD. And even if they don't, and the child comes to fruition and is born, if you're the child of somebody with borderline personality disorder, you have a 5-time increased chance of having it. And I don't think that that's genetic. They can't really prove that yet. I think it's just going to be the lack of nurture and the creation of a betrayal bond, lack of attunement, and no real strong, healthy attachment with an untreated borderline mother, which has happened to so many women and men now who have BPD now, in any generation, but focusing a little bit on the younger generation with this particular issue. So my heart really goes out to the commenter. I hope you can process separately that losing this borderline, if you work through a process for healing recovery, won't be the biggest loss of your life. The child, that's different. You have to grieve that. The people that are supporting you and your family and your friends, they're trying to help you and support you, but they're also probably right. But maybe you're not really ready yet to be able to process that this might be the best thing because it still hurts. And then there's also the issue that the commenter needs to work out, or anybody else who might be in this situation, or if you can resonate with it, my heart goes out to you too, need to realize that there's multiple losses to process in a situation like this, and that it's sad but understandable why the commenter, with all that he has to focus on, is also very focused on the fact that now she's doing with the new guy what she didn't seemingly want to do at all with him. And I guess the only thing I can say about that is that likely wasn't some grand plan by that person with BPD, and it's not going to mean that there's going to be necessarily a child born in that situation, depending what she does, or if she does things over the same way she did prior. And because they go to the next person immediately under any circumstances, that doesn't mean they're happy. And it doesn't mean the relationship is going to last long. It doesn't mean it's going to be any different. And that guy, whether they have the baby or not, is going to find out in an extremely difficult and painful way over time just how tethered to an impossible situation he will be if, in fact, they have that child. So my heart really goes out to the commenter and anybody else who might have gone through something like this. Or if you're trying to co-parent with somebody with BP that's just making it a nightmare. Really affects children. It's, parental alienation, all kinds of things going on. In a way, it's probably best you didn't have the child with her, but you still lost a child. When people are younger, as I said, and you're in those years of wanting to find someone to spend your life with, wanting to have children, it really behooves you, anyone, I'm not just saying this to the commenter, to really get into a healing recovery journey so that you can be healthier, more independent, and find someone healthier for you. Because, for women who are going to bear the children, and if they're with a borderline man, wow, they're not all the same, but a lot of them are so childlike that they're really damaging to children as well, male borderlines. And female borderlines and untreated, having children, they're gonna wound those children. And then so many fathers are spending their time just trying to help, and often, I'm not going to say 100% of the time, because not everybody with BP is the same, and some have had some treatment, but often try to co-parent with an untreated borderline of either sex is, among one of the worst experiences people could ever have in life, because it's not only what you go through, it's what you know that your child is going through.
You've been listening to the Surviving BPD Relationship Breakup Podcast with your host, counselor and trauma recovery coach, AJ Mahari. For more or get sessions with AJ, go to ajmahari.ca. See you next time.